minutes late. Okay, today I plan to start a distillation because why it is a little bit continuous of a process calculation. It will be here also same, the product feed and everything, except some additional information about the distillation, because that is petroleum industry dominant in the Middle East. So there are two questions, I guess 2 to 3 questions is expecting from distillation. We can group this distillation with the process calculation also, or we can put it separately also. Okay, now let's start. This is a crude oil distillation process, and you have a feed here. I think people, what I remember, you are all from you are all working in some different industry, not in oil and gas industry. Am I right? Or anybody working in petroleum refineries industry? Anybody from this group?
I'm working on oil and gas, but not refineries.
Okay, oil
Engineering.
and gas. Which company? Oil and gas?
I used to work for Qatar Gas.
Oh, Qatar Gas. Now?
Now I'm employed.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. No, what I was thinking, I thought you were in a different gas company or something. Okay. So,
No, I used to work on consultancy, and then I work for Qatar Gas, and now I'm jobless. I'm looking for.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in a Qatar gas, are you in a, whether you are in this kind of gas processing or oil, refineries
I
and
was working on the LNG, and mainly in projects. That was my area. So the refinery, I don't have really experience, but LNG, oil and gas processing, yes, that's my specialized area.
okay, fine. So here they are coming back to the distillation. Generally, you have a crude oil or feed will be either sometime mid or a little bit will be there. Then there is a temperature, right? Then you have a lighter one will be make it as from copper, this is the first stream or lighter stream, the gases, and depends upon the number of carbons, depends upon the boiling point, right? So there will be a different product or distillate will be there. Naphthas, kerosene, gas oil, and lubricant, fuel oil as part. This is what called a distillation. But for exam perspective, whether do you need to remember this temperature and this product, I think it is not necessary. This is just for your just quick remember about the distillation process. And also remember something about where tar will be, it is a part of your bottom product. Gasoline, or you have a kerosene or diesel fuel will be in the mid actually. It's not lighter end, I would say mid end, or lighter end generally is the gas. These all I would say maybe heavier, that kind of a medium product or middle product. Just to give a little bit more information about can you see this screen? Either need to zoom it. Can you see?
Zoom it a little bit.
Okay, now how about now? Is it okay? Yes. Is it okay
Okay.
now?
Yeah.
Okay. See, here is the this is the real, this chart. I'm not really sure whether it has been shared to you all. Otherwise, I will email you all this chart. It's like a flow chart of refinery process. So crude oil is entering in atmospheric distillation. That means the pressure, the distillation column pressure is atmospheric pressure. In the atmospheric pressure only, you have um, so you can see from I don't know why I couldn't get. How about now? Is it clear? It looks bigger now. No?
No, no.
Can you see? Not bigger? Okay, I'll just explain. There is a atmospheric distillation. That lighter one will be on the top. Gas will be gas processing. and we have a heavy, lighter one, light naphtha, heavy naphtha, and we have a jet fuel, diesel fuel. Then the bottom product will go into the vacuum distillation. Right? Then the vacuum distillation will have a asphalt. Then you have a vacuum residuum, and you have a lighter vacuum gas oil and everything. So here you can see some process, like catalyst reformer. We will talk about the catalyst reformer. What is the function? And there is hydro treater. Is it hydro treater? There will be one more function where you will have removing the sulfur, right? Removing sulfur is the one of the thing. Desulfurization process. And finally, you have alkaline alkylation. Then you will go to the gas oil. This is the general overall flow chart. What is happening in your petroleum refinery? It has come from crude oil to the lighter one, refining process. I will send you this chart. You can go through that. And whether you will have a question in this or not, but we will also see some sample question that from it's all repeatable question. So you can prepare for that, or if you have already some material, please prepare for that also. Come back to the distillation tower. Our feed, right? There is a two section generally, rectification and stripping. So that rectification means whatever the lighter one will go, then they put in a condenser, have a reflex drum, then they will be removed, distillate will be removed. Then the reflex will be fed back to the distillation column. Similar to the stripping means, then you have a heavier one, which will put it in a reboiler. Then whatever the boil up, that will be feeding up to in the distillation column. Then you will get a bottom. This is a distillation tower process. You have a two section. One is a rectification, another one is a stripping section. This is a reflex area, or this is a reboiling section. So
Madam,
again,
can you go back to your last slide?
this one.
Yeah. Why are we calling the above section as this rectification? Any reason?
Why? Because it's here, it is not only feed. I think whatever in the lighter gas in the boil up, right? This is also further removed. Same way for stripping also. Why it is called stripping? Removing the heavier one, like a liquid, they say vacuum distillate. That one, heavier one, like a tar or asphalt, all are removed. So that will be stripped out. Here we are rectifying the lighter one, the gas. That's why it is the portion here. This portion is called rectifying. This is called a stripping. That's what, because of that.
Okay.
All right. So again, we are taking the mass balance here because it's related to, as I told you, we are going to calculate the percentage of composition only. So feed, mainly there's a major mass balance is F equal to D plus B. So then if, let's say if I take one component in feed, whatever in the component in a D, whatever component in the B, that's what will happen. Same way for your rectification section. This is your rectification section. So here it is a V bar. What is the V bar? V bar will be, there are boil up, whatever the boil up coming in, it is going up. Plus from in the feed also, the lighter one, because the distillation column will be maintained at atmospheric pressure and temperature. So it depends upon the temperature and the condition. So the whatever the feed will be, the boil up and the feed one will go here. That's why it is a V bar. They're not telling same V. So V bar is nothing but L, the liquid, which after the condensation, the liquid will be pouring back to the distillation column. So then L plus D, that's a rectification mass balance. Similar, a component, if you take X component, X in a V bar, which is nothing but XLL plus XDD. So here, this is a reflex ratio they can calculate, because this process is called a reflex R. Reflex ratio equal to R, which is equal to L by D. L by D. That's called a reflex ratio. So the mass balance can be written in terms of reflex ratio also. That means XV equal to XL into R by R plus 1 plus xd into 1 by 1 plus r. Please remember this formula and this formula and reflux ratio formula, because sometimes they'll give you the reflux ratio, then they may ask you to calculate some composition. So that is what you can calculate. Xc, XL, XD. Same thing we saw here. Now come back to the stripping section. The mass balance L bar equal to V plus B. Here, L bar is V plus B. Same here is a boil-up ratio. Boil-up ratio means V by B is a boil-up ratio. L by D is your reflux ratio. Now, when we talk about here the V bar, so V bar is nothing but there are some coming from feed and some coming from B. Put together, it's called V bar, right? But that depends upon the condition. No, the liquid condition. So that's what here if it is a subcooled liquid, which is the feed is subcooled liquid, then the L bar is greater than F plus L. There will be more condensation, more liquid formation will be there in the distillation column. That's why they said L bar greater than F plus L. Where this L come from the condensate, you will get L, which is reflex from the reflex area or rectification section, you will get a L. If it is a bubble point, right? Bubble point means they started to slightly evaporate, I guess, bubble point, right? So if let's say bubble point, so then you have a V bar, which has come from the boiler. We can see here even the V bar, some liquid is getting condensate also because the temperature here it is a subcooled. So here in this condition in a bubble point, V equal to V bar only. Feed also completely liquid, L also completely liquid. There is no feed coming from the boil-up ratio vapor. Reboiler from the stripping section, there is no vapor is coming out, that V equal to V bar. So
Sorry.
dew point also same way.
May I
Let
ask
me
a question?
complete.
Sorry.
Let me complete, then we will talk about this. If it is a dew point liquid, so if the temperature is completely feed also in a dew point state, that means is in a temperature such that the vapor is there. So feed plus V bar will give you the V. The liquid will be completely L equal to L bar. So key thing you should remember, the superheated liquid, partially vaporized and super cool liquid, you can see the L bar equal to F plus L. Whereas here, okay, partially vaporized, you need to know the exactly how much liquid component fraction in a feed and also vapor fraction in your V. Then only you can calculate. And this we can't calculate. For example, subcooled and superheated liquid. So general, it is easy to calculate if it is maintained in a bubble point, but if a real distillation column, people will maintain the different conditions, temperature and pressure. So it may vary. So this is just for overview, how to calculate the one component in rectification section and boil up section, and the mass fraction, I would say molar fraction, overall fraction, mass fraction, balance equation, that you can if you know the condition of the liquid, then you can define it. Yeah, somebody asked some question.
Yes, actually, I wanted to understand how come the L bar in the subcooled it's greater. It should be, should be F plus L? Because L,
yeah,
whatever
but
is
here,
coming in should be equal to out. How come it is greater? I wanted to understand.
Because the V bar is not, that here it is a boil up section, the stripping section. After reboiling, there are some vapor, right? Whatever recovered from the reboiler, the vapor also going to the distillation column, right? So then, whatever here, if you see from this direction, from the arrow mark itself, the vapor coming from reboiler, because of the subcooled liquid in the distillation column, the temperature will be low. That will make some of the component, right, will get condensed back again. That F plus L. The same way you can see in the superheated. If the feed is a superheated, then the V is nothing but F plus V bar. Greater than. V is greater than F plus V bar. In a subcooled, L bar greater than F plus L, and superheated, V is greater than F plus V bar. Right? So
Okay.
partially vaporized means we should measure the component in reboiling section and also the feed. Then you can partially vaporized, you can calculate exactly. But if you see bubble point and dew point generally will be maintain the distillation. Okay. So the feed is not super cooled or super heated, then you can, from the mass balance around the reboiler, mass balance around the condenser, and then around the column. So that you can put it. Then the vapor entering the rectifying section. Vapor entering the rectifying section means here they are talking about if you missed out super cooled and super heated, then a vapor entering that mass balance around the column, you can write it VF. That means vapor in a feed and liquid in a feed, which is equal to distillate plus bottom. So then vapor entering the rectifying section, we can say vapor entering the rectification section, V equal to V plus VF. V equal to V bar plus VF. Why I'm telling these kind of things? Because the boil up ratio, which we said about V bar divided by B, right? So which is a boil up ratio, we say B by B, which is here the boil up ratio can be calculated by this formula also, D plus L minus VF divided by B. And that is the indication. Vapor entering the rectification is the vapor entering the condenser minus the feed vapor flow rate. That's what here VF. VF means V minus V bar. So that is how you can calculate VF also. Why I'm telling this one, you don't need to worry about how it is being derived and everything, because in the exam we are not going to derive how it is arrived. The boil up ratio calculation question is being asked. So either you can calculate what depends upon the information given. You can calculate V by V straight away. What is V? Here, boil up after the reboiler, whatever the vapor coming out, then the bottom. That's a V by V. That's a boil up ratio. And if it is, if they have given DL, they have not given V. If you do not know V here, if you do not know V here, you are unable to derive from that. You can use the distillate and the liquid minus vapor in the feed divided by B. That way also you can calculate the boil up ratio. So in order to differentiate two different formula for boil up ratio, this is being given provided the feed is not a super cooled and not a superheated. And number of theoretical plate. This is I'm given for my own information, but so far in the exam, especially in the UPD exam, number of theoretical plate, right? That is not being asked. So just remember for the formula, if at all it is being asked. See, mole fraction of more volatile component, mole fraction of in the overhead in a bottom, right? Then this is a relative volatility. So they have to give you the relative volatility if they want to ask the number of theoretic place. That you have LT, LB. LT means volatile component in the top of the column. B means it's a top. Volatility in the top of the column, volatility in the bottom of the column. Right. This is what a little bit we are going into the distillation process. I mean, there are some key things, important things, which is I'm giving explanation because distillation itself is a big subject. Even separate the petroleum industry is a 4-year petroleum refinery engineering. It's a 4-year engineering degree, right? Okay. So there is one thing called K factor or characterization factor. It's a systematic way. What it mean a K factor and characterization factor? The fuel, I mean, whatever the oil, they are giving a grade. They are classifying the grade based on its paraffinic and naphthenic intermediate or aromatic nature. K factor or characterization factor is a systematic way of classifying a crude oil according to its paraffinic, naphthenic, intermediate or aromatic nature, right? If the K factor is 12.5 or a higher grade, it indicates crude oil predominantly it's a paraffinic. 10 and lower means it's a predominantly aromatic nature. So normally this K factor is also referred to as a UOP factor or UOP K factor. Why this K factor is important? Those, if you are in oil trading, no, you know, we are in Middle East, but we may not, the country to country, because of the location or country source, the oil grade it is being given. If you have check some kind of business magazine where you have a different country oil price, you can see they have put in one column is a K factor. What is this K factor says about that? The paraphenic and aromatic nature, right? That is what here. So normally 12.5 or higher grade is paraphenic and 10 or lower is aromatic nature. The next thing is, anybody know in the Qatar what is the K factor value of the crude oil which is available, which is being drilling process? They are taking the oil out from Qatar country. What is the K factor? Anybody know anything? I think 10 plus. You also check because that is a good information. What is the K factor of oil which is coming from Qatar? I think 10 plus something. Okay, the octane number. So there is another one which is being measured, the classification of oil, crude oil, which is the octane number. A figure indicating the anti-knock properties of a fuel based on comparison with a mixture of isooctane and heptane. So that's the anti-knock properties fuel, which is being based on the mixture of isooctane and heptane. This number is a value used to indicate the resistance of a motor fuel to knock. So if octane number is a number to indicate you the resistance to knock the fuel, right? Because when you put it in engine or anything, it has to give a knock properties, then only the engine will start it. So that is a resistant of motor fuel to knock it. So this is also called octane rating. This octane number generally based on 100 to 0. 100 means isooctane, which is 100, it's a minimal knock, and heptane, which is a 0 octane number, bad knock. That means isooctane to heptane, 100 to 0, minimal knock to bad knock. The higher the octane number, the more compression required. Higher octane number fuel, if you are using it, then more ignition, more compression is required. So fuel with high octane numbers are used in the high performance gasoline engine. High octane number generally it will be used in the I think aeroplane and all, they use the gasoline, high performance gasoline. Whereas with the low octane number, which is used in a diesel engine, where fuel is not that much compression is required. So it depends upon the octane number, the fuel can vary, the properties and the usage also vary. There is another thing they're talking about, the cetane number. Cetane number is a reverse of octane number. Low octane means high cetane. High cetane means low octane. So different people will use a different terminology. But remember, high octane means 100 to 0. And 100 is isooctane and 0 is the heptane, which is a very bad knock. And when talking about the cetane number, it is a reversely. If it is high octane means low cetane. Low octane means high cetane. Octane number measure the performance of gasoline, while cetane number measure the performance of diesel. Right? Octane number used to measure the gasoline. Cetane number performance of diesel. The fuel having a high octane number has a low cetane. This is what I said. High cetane number fuel has a low octane number. This is the reason we can't use a petrol in a diesel engine and diesel in a petrol engine, because diesel engine, normally the diesel is a we just now we said it's a low octane number fuel. So that required fuel is not compressed and it is not required more pump actually. So but when come to the petrol, it will be in a higher octane side. And that's why you cannot mix the fuel from one engine to another engine. The next key point they're talking about the catalytic reforming. What is the catalytic reforming? It's a chemical process used to convert the naphthas distilled from crude oil, typically having a low octane number into high octane liquid products. That means whatever the low octane number product, you are going to convert into high octane liquid product. That is called a catalytic reforming process. It's a chemical process to convert the high octane to low octane. So the product is called reformate, right? Which are premium blending stock for high octane gasoline. So this process converts low octane linear hydrocarbon into the branched alkenes and cyclic naphtha. That's such that the compression will be good. If it is a low octane means linear hydrocarbon. which are then partially dehydrogenated to produce the high octane aromatic hydrocarbons. The dehydrogenation also produces significant amount of byproduct hydrogen gas, which is fed to the hydrocracking. What is hydrocracking? I think they crack it into hydrogen. Anybody aware about the what is hydrocracking process? Remove hydrogen from that. If I'm not, that's here it is given.
Cracking.
Dehydrogenation. Yeah, somebody
Yeah,
say something.
cracking.
Yeah, please.
I just remember it from the college. It is when we are breaking the long chain of hydrocarbons into a smaller chain. That's what is a hydrocarbon.
That means converting into a more lighter one.
Yes.
So
Heavier.
whatever the hydrogen produced from the dehydrogenation process, that will be fed to the hydrocracking. Hydrocracking means breaking the chain, making more lighter. So that is we saw here the three process, which is a catalytic reforming, which convert the high octane to low octane to high octane. Then which is then we talk about the dehydrogenation. That means normally in the catalytic reforming, there will be a partially dehydrogenated high octane aromatic hydrocarbon will be produced. This dehydrogen also produce the some hydrogen gases by as a byproduct that will be used in the hydrocracking. Hydrocracking means converting into the lighter carbons. So this is what the basic theory. I have given whatever I got that information. These type of question is being asked. Anyhow, you can also find a lot of material available, but whatever the material I'm having, I will send it to you regarding the distillation. There are a lot of question, mostly theoretical question. What catalyst, something like that, it will be there. I will share that also to you. Please practice before we do exam. Now we go for the distillation question. A binary mixture of tetrahydrofuran and isopropyl alcohol is to be separated in a relatively few stream of THF and IPA. This is a mixture THF and IPA we need to separate in a distillation column, which is operating at atmospheric pressure. So the column material balance is summarized in the table below. So for a stripping section, the L by V ratio of 1/4. So L by V ratio is given for stripping section. Vapor leaving the reboiler has a flow rate. What is the vapor flow rate in the reboiler? Vapor leaving the reboiler. From the material balance, this is a repeatable question in the exam, EPD exam. The material balance is given and L by V is given. Asking vapor leaving the kettle reboiler. See, we have to do the balance actually, right? So L equal to, in a reboiler section, L equal to V plus B. How do we know? In a reboiler section, the mass balance we can say, right? L equal to V plus B. So then we talk about just divided by V from the equation, you will get L by V equal to B, because here they have not given the boiler pressure, they are given L by V. So you need to convert this equation by L by V, which is 1 plus B by V. B is the bottom, V is the vapor. So you take it a bottom flow rate as 1.259 total, and B by V is already given as a 0.4. So B is 1.259 divided by 0.4. Can somebody check whether the answer is right? 1.259, that's a bottom total stream LB mole per hour is given, molar flow rate is given. So divided by 0.4. So the question seems to be big and they have given table and everything, don't get confused, right? They are talking about the kettle reboiler section. Then take a mass balance and check the whatever the molar flow rate given, feed flow rate and feed composition, distillate flow rate and distillate composition, same way for bottom. So here L by V value is given, so which is nothing but 1.4, right? So L by V is a 1.4, 1.4 minus 1, that becomes 0.4. So then B by V equal to 0.4, then V equal to B divided by 0.4. So 1.25 divided by 0.4, that should give 3.15. Next question is ammonia water system. An ammonia water system essentially at its bubble point. That's a key thing. See here they're telling that it's a bubble point process here. It is processed in a trace stripping column with the external kettle boiler to recover the majority of ammonia. A constant molar overflow simulation provides the following information. They have given the overhead ammonia mole fraction, bottom ammonia mole fraction, feed ammonia mole fraction. Right? That means they are given BF, BF, and I would say BF also. The reboiler ratio they are asking, B by B they are asking. Right? So then you take the stripping section at the bubble point. That's a bubble point stripping section formula, L bar equal to F plus V. Then for convert that one, F by B in the vapor in a by plus XB. So for ammonia, you take it 0.4 by F by B. How we get a 0.4? Because it is given. Feed ammonia mole fraction is given. And we have given mole fraction in vapor, it is given, mole fraction in bottom is given. Similarly, you take for water also. Then you can calculate F by B. Right? Then you substitute equation, you can solve the V by B ratio. That's a thing they're talking about, the V by B boil up ratio is only being asked.
Okay, excuse me, what is the L equals 0 here? What does it mean?
See, the thing is here, they're talking about when come to the bubble point, this is a bubble point, right? When bubble point, L bar equal to F plus L, right? So that's what here you have taken L bins, you have a L bar equal to F plus L, B equal to V bar. That's in a bubble point, right? So when come to the here, L bar equal to F plus L means we have to take XL L bar here instead of X of F. Why here I'm taking L equal to 0? Because they're only talking about the stripping section and to recover majority of ammonia, right here, where it is tray talking about only stripping column with an external kettle boil to recover the majority of ammonia. In this situation, we are assuming the L equal to, is not assuming, L equal to 0. That means whatever L bar, which is nothing but the feed only. Right here, supposed to be L bar equal to F plus L, is in a bubble point, V equal to V bar as per this drawing. But here L equal to L bar I'm taking because I'm only considering F, and it is only a stripping column we are talking about, right? This is not for the overall total column. So we are only considering because there's no liquid is being condensed and coming back to the distillation column, right? So that's why L equal to 0 here.
Not even a reflux, you mean?
I mean, yeah,
non-reflux?
reflux, no reflux. They are only talking about the stripping column. The distillation column can be used only for stripping, right? So that is a stripping column that they're talking about. Here it's a trade stripping column.
So if we are saying stripping column, then we should assume there is no reflux and there is no reflux.
Exactly. If it is a normal atmospheric distillation, means there will be a reflux and there will be a rectification section which has the reflux, and we have a bottom, right? Reboiler section. But here the distillation is only a stripping. Then there is no reflux section here. So whatever liquid is coming from only feed. That's what here L equal to 0. There it is here. That's why L equal to 0. When L equal to 0, then L bar equal to F only. So here L bar equal to F, then you can take it in a mole fraction X of F divided by XVV plus XBB also, right? So then you divide it by B. Why I have to divide it by B? Because I need to calculate B by B. So I need to get some relation between F by B and B by B. Then only I can calculate, right? So for that purpose, we divided by B. Then you substitute for ammonia, the same equation, substitute ammonia for water also. Then when you resolve, you will get a F by B equal to with something. Then you put it in some equation, then you can resolve B by B equal to 0.71. Question seems to be simple, but when come to the calculation, right, there is a little bit of substitution is here. But so far in that question, if you are getting this ammonia water stripping column, you can practice during the exam. If the molar rate are not being changed or anything, you can take the answer. Otherwise, if they have changed that molar fraction, only remember this is the way. For ammonia, you solve one. For water, you get a 1 molar equation. Like this all process calculation, balance equation. Then quickly substitute and get the value. The rest are going to be some theoretical question. Bottom product of atmospheric pressure crude oil distillation column. Right, so there is a bottom product of crude oil distillation column, atmospheric pressure crude oil. That's a key thing. There is a 2 distillation column I showed you in the chart. Right? Asphalt will be, that's a people will generally say asphalt. Asphalt will be the bottom product of vacuum distillation. First distillation is atmospheric distillation. Then whatever you are getting the reduced crude, people will say, right? There is a, in atmospheric distillation, whatever the bottom product, which you can call it as a reduced crude, that will go to the vacuum distillation. In that vacuum distillation, the bottom product residuum, people will say residuum also, vacuum residuum or some residuum, or if there is a next to residuum, it's going to be the asphalt. But here they're talking about bottom product, atmospheric pressure crude oil distillation. The bottom product is called a reduced crude. Mercaptans are added to LPG. Why? This is also very commonly asked question. We are adding mercaptans in LPG gas. What is the reason for that?
Yeah, it's mainly for leakage.
Exactly.
For smell indication.
For smell, yes. Assist in checking its leakage from cylinder. C is the right answer. Crude topping column operate at
atmospheric. When it is topping,
atmospheric, exactly, atmospheric pressure. These are the questions. Some theoretical question is possible in distillation chapter also, because the process calculation, we are already mostly calculation. So if they cover in the calculation in the material balance, then in the distillation, they go with some theoretical question. In a refinery, petroleum crude is a fractionate into gas fraction, light and intermediate distillate and heavy distillate, residues and byproduct. The group of products, including gas oil, diesel oil, and heavy fuel oil, belong to which one?
Is it intermediate? The intermediate distillate, I believe.
So this is a little bit they're confusing, because normally gas oil will be in intermediate distillate, but heavy fuel and diesel oil are heavy distillate actually. But why they are telling gas oil also heavy distillate? Because there are in some distillation process, the gas oil also they make it in a heavy distillate gas oil, intermediate gas oil. Gas oil means it can be come in the both distillate product. So, but here they're clearly selling gas oil, diesel oil, heavy fuel, then it is a heavy distillate.
Yeah, also in the question, they already mentioned the intermediate distillate. So it cannot be again also intermediate distillate.
Yep.
Yes? Yes,
Yep.
okay. Good.
Okay. Petroleum gas used for household cooking comprises mainly the LPG in the cylinder or in a pipeline, we are getting cooking gas. What is the composition?
Propane butane.
Propane, butane, very good. So this is a commonly a question in EBD also, propane and butane. 9. Catalyst used in catalytic cracking.
Silica alumina.
Exactly. Silica alumina catalyst will be used in your cracking process. Question number 10.
Paraffinic, yeah?
Paraffinic, right? It's a paraffinic. About 12 means paraffinic, 10 and below means is aromatic.
Aromatic, yeah. I think all of them.
All of them. See, I'll give you a clue. Whenever in your exam, when you see all of them, all above or all ABC, mostly that will be the right answer. So far, whatever I come across, 99% Whenever you see one of the option, all of the above, then better you tick down. That's it. So,
Okay.
question number 11, all of the above. I mean, all A, B, C, D is the right answer. That means fuel visc breaking process. See, from this question, you are getting some information about visc breaking. What is a visc breaking? To reduce viscosity. Right? So then another question maybe was in a distillation process to reduce the viscosity of the fuel oil or a visc breaking. What is the purpose? They can ask in many form the question. So viscosity will be reduced, pressure drop on pumping will be reduced, the pour point also will be reduced. That's a visc breaking process. Question number 2. Crude oil subjected to vacuum distillation in the last stage. Why? Because we have atmospheric distillation, then only vacuum distillation, right? Why vacuum distillation is not in the furnace? Why it is in the last stage?
It seems like A makes sense.
Yeah, because heavy fuel oil, lubricating oil in a vacuum distillation, it started to decompose. That's why we maintain it atmospheric, we separate it out, then we go to the vacuum distillation. Which of the following has the highest octane number?
Aromatic?
Exactly. But generally, just now we saw the octane number is being measured in isooctane versus heptane only, right? So that means it's a paraphenic only, people will say. But actually, aromatic has the highest octane number, but it's not being used as a measurement or in any fuel because of the carcinogen. It's the toxic nature. So aromatic has the highest octane number. Generally, that's why in all petrol have at least 3 to 4% of benzene they're adding because to little bit increase in their octane number. So depends upon the aromatic mixture also, the octane number may change, and the compression, the fuel compression record also may change. Accordingly, the K factor also, the value of that oil also will change. So aromatic has the highest octane number. Tetraethyl lead is added in a gasoline. 2. Why I have to add 10?
To increase the octane number.
Increase its autonomy. That means, remember, catalytic reforming process, right? We talk about the catalytic reforming process means low octane to high octane you are doing. So in that, what is the we added as a catalyst is a tetra. I mean, it's not a catalyst. We are adding as a some improving the performance, right? That's a tetraethyl. It's added in a gasoline to increase its octane number. The second thing is we talk about the catalyst used also. So from the question itself, we can get some information. We prepare about that, it is okay, because put together material balance plus distillation, I would say five questions, 6 questions. So mostly in the process, material balance, you'll get a calculation, and two questions or 3 questions, theoretical questions from distillation. I'm talking about the max.
What is silica alumina? I remember we said silica alumina as a catalyst for which process? Silica
alumina.
Reforming.
Catalytic cracking.
And this is for reforming. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Sweetening process. Now we heard about the petroleum chapter. Sweetening. What is a sweetening means? Desulfurization process. Right? Removing the sulfur. That's a sweetening process. What is a catalytic? Why hydrogen is being used in your sweetening process? That's a question. Why we have to use hydrogen?
Minimize the coke varnish.
Both A and B. Whenever you see both A and B, all of the above, that could be the, but both A and B, compared to both A and B, if I see all of the above, that will be the right answer, I will say. Here both A and B. That means the hydrogen is being added in your sweetening process to enhance the desulfurization and also minimize the coke formation. So in the sweetening process, doctor solution is being used. Why? which is the doctor solution? Doctor
Sodium
solution,
plumbide.
sodium plumbide, very good. Sodium plumbide, doctor solution. See, now we got some information about sweetening. Sweetening means removing the sulfur, and why hydrogen is being added in the desulfuring process or sweetening process. Why? Because enhance the process, desulfurization process, and also minimize the coke. And what the solution, doctor solution being used in your sweetening process, which is nothing but sodium plumbide. So these are some bit about theoretical question and some calculation based question. Generally, that V by B ratio, the ammonia water system is being asked. Then some theoretical question. I have some collection for petroleum refinery process question in MCQ that I will send you. Please prepare that also if you have now more question, because mostly all theoretical. If you just go through, if you remember the option, it will be okay. Right. Now, any question here? If not, I will go to the next chapter, which is the fluid mechanics.
What do we have any additional process? I mean, material balance. You said you will share with us for the distillation.
For distillation, I will say the question only, not maybe the chart which I show you initially. That chart and the question I will share for petroleum. I mean, distillation.
Questions without answers? You mean you have to work them?
No, with answer. This is
yeah, I mean, step-by-step answers or only directly the answer?
Generally, no calculation questions. All are theoretical questions. Just now we saw what is sweetening process, the desulfuration process, that kind of a different process question.
No, I mean one like the that has the reflux ratio and boil-up ratio. Do we have anyone for calculation as well?
No. So far, what I have the information only 2-3 questions only. That's it. Whatever in the calculation questions in the distillation, I have given already.
But now we have solved only one. You mean you will give it later?
2 only. We have solved 2 questions. One is the first boil-up ratio, L by V. The second, they have talked about the boil-up ratio.
So that's enough, you mean? Like we don't need any additional?
No, it's enough because there are similar. What is the thing you have to understand? The mass balance, material balance. Then if they give a boil-up ratio, then you have to use it in the boil-up ratio. Then you read if it is a distillation column, the key thing is you understand whether it is a stripping column or whether it is a only stripping column only we saw. Whether stripping column or you have a reflex column, I mean rectification column alone. Right. So accordingly, you choose your mass balance equation. Then this is some again go back to the material balance only. That's it. There's not much we think about. Read if any distillation calculation question. Think about they're talking about any bubble point or dew point. Then think about it is any boil-up ratio or the mass molar flow rate or mass flow rate is being. The first question talking about the L by V. The second question is they have given the mass flow rate. They ask you to calculate boil-up ratio. So think about that one. Then think about what the condition of the feed, whether it is a dew point or whether it is in a bubble point. Accordingly, you substitute it. Then you can solve the material balance.
And I have one more question. Like you said, if it is a stripping column, then we can assume the liquid is 0.
Yes.
Is it the same thing for the rectification? We should assume the V.
Yes. If they have given clearly in the question, it's only stripping column or it's only the rectification column, then you can choose another one equal to. That means there is no. It's only feed. There is no L or there is no V. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So now we go to the pump fluid mechanics and pump related question. Here involves some calculation again. Just to recall some formula here, pressure equal to force by area, F by A. Which is nothing but mg by A. M is the mass, G is your gravitational constant, which is 9.8 meter per second squared. A is the area. So Yum is nothing but rho B divided by mass equal mass by volume equal to density, right? So you put a density and volume multiplied by gravitational constant divided by A. So if the cylinder or rectangular, you can take P equal to rho GH. That's the thing. Why? How do you get rho G? Guess. You can substitute here V by A, right? Rho G is here. So if it is a cylinder, it is a pi r square H. Right? Then divided by pi r square. Then the V by A equal to just the H only for rectangular and cylinder. That's what here, this formula, it is being written as a P equal to rho GH. Then the specific gravity is nothing but density of the fluid divided by density of water. That's called specific gravity. So when you convert here the rho density, if you convert with the specific gravity and you convert in a PSIA in feet, so this formula, remember this, P pressure in PSIA, this is specific gravity, H in feet, which is divided by 2.31. Why I need 2.31? Because this is to conversion and PSIA feet conversion. So it is given here. So SGH divided by 2.31. Flow rate, either P equal to rho GH or P in PSIA means SGH divided by 2.31. Flow rate is nothing but velocity into area. That's a flow rate. Now in a fluid mechanics, we are going to calculate the total head. So the total head consists of 4 head parts. One is a static head, friction head, and P is the pressure, vapor pressure head. P is the vapor pressure head. V is the velocity head. That is the 4 put together to give you the total head. So then first you have a static head. What is a static head? See, you have a one tank in the below and another tank on the top. How to take a water and pump it to the top tanker, right? So then you have to take a HSS. This is static head we are going to calculate. HS at the discharge. D means discharge, S means section. This first is a static discharge, static section. Okay, so that's a SD and SS. So here HSS from the central line of pump and to the level of water. So that's a HSS. And this is HID, HSD. So the different is HS, total static head. So total static head we can calculate from the information given from the HSD and HSS. Next is the friction head. Friction, same, it's a friction at discharge, friction at the suction side. So here HF, that is a formula, FLV squared by 2GD. If the information about the friction factor is not given, you can ignore the friction factor. That is, I'm talking about in terms of exam perspective. But in a real practice, you can get the factor value and all. So HF equal to FLV squared divided by 2GD. Say friction factor, which is nothing but roughness factor. D is the diameter, Reynolds number, 0.9 to the power of 0.9 to the power of this formula, right? You can substitute and you can calculate the friction factor, but you should know the diameter. Will know Reynolds number also you can calculate. The K value, the roughness factor, should come from your material wise or the supplier. They can guide you to give you the roughness factor. So get all this value, you can substitute. But in exam perspective, so far, further information it is not given, then you can ignore the HF. Okay? So this is a gravitational constant. The K will be mentioned as a, generally instead of K, they will tell you the loss coefficient, right, which is nothing but FL divided by D. F this friction factor, and you can calculate L and D also. And D is the diameter, L is the length. So they may give you the K loss coefficient value. From that also you can calculate F. So if it is a friction, the information is given either FLV squared by 2GD, F from this formula or from this formula. They will give a loss coefficient. Then from there you can calculate F and substitute here in the friction overhead. The same HF is nothing but HFD and HFS. In both sides you have to take it. Remember here it is a plus. Total friction means total friction, you have to add the discharge friction and also the static friction. When come to here, the total static head is a different. When come to the friction, it is a sum. Next is the vapor pressure. total vapor pressure depends upon the liquid which we stored or in the bottom tank or in the overhead tank. So depends upon vapor pressure. You have to use HP is nothing but if supply vessel pressure, it is both are same, the static and discharge level pressure, the vapor pressure is same. That means you have a HP, you can take it as a 0. If supply pressure is positive, that means HP is suction side or you have a vapor pressure is a positive, then you have to take a HPD plus HPS. That's a total vapor pressure. If the supply vapor pressure is it's a positive, we have to take minus. If it is a negative, we have to take plus. Generally, HP is nothing but HP discharge. That means vapor pressure in the discharge, vapor pressure in the suction. If it is a positive vapor pressure, if we have a negative vapor pressure, then you get a sum of things. If both are equal, means vapor pressure head equal to 0. So here also they're talking about the absolute. HD and HS you have to calculate in the absolute. So total velocity is nothing but V squared by 2G. That's a velocity head. Then you can substitute the discharge velocity head and suction velocity head. It's not static, it's a suction velocity head. Okay, now we talk about the power output. That means pump power required. W, the watts requirement equal to height, head, total head, flow rate, and the density. That's a W equal to power output, HQ rho. The same thing, you can write it in a different formula. Same way HQ rho only, but if it is in a kilowatt or if it is in a HP. If it is a HP, that means the head is in a feet, Q in a gallon per minute. Then only you can calculate HP. Right? So if it is in a kilowatt, you can use this formula. So once you know the power output, then what is the power required? That is nothing but output divided by the efficiency. Right? So that whatever the output you have divided by the efficiency, that'll give power required by pump. Next, we talk about the NPSH. That's a net positive suction head. When the pressure in a liquid drop below the vapor pressure corresponding its temperature, the liquid will vaporize in the pump, which will lead to the high pressure. Then the pump will collapse. To avoid the jam or collapse in the pump, why it is happening? Because the liquid drops below the vapor pressure of that particular liquid, that in the corresponding to the temperature. So then liquid will vaporize in a pump. So this is known as a cavitation. So in order to avoid the cavitation, the pump should be maintained at the NPCH required. That's a net positive suction head. So when you summarize here, static section side, vapor pressure section side, friction section side, velocity head section side. This P is your vapor pressure. This is also related to the vapor pressure. This specifically you can write down P here.
Sorry,
Now
this
we
P, sorry, Jita, is this
Ah.
P is the suction discharge minus suction, or the same formula what you said on the slides before? Here you said
it's the same formula. Instead of the talking about the total head, right? Instead of that formula, here we are only talking about the vapor pressure. That's called.
that's what I'm
NPS.
saying. The vapor pressure here, only the vapor pressure of the fluid at the suction, we're not taking anything from the discharge fluid at the discharge.
Nothing, because we are only calculating the net positive suction only.
Okay, so it's only the suction.
Not a total head. If it is a total head, then only you can take a discharge and suction. Here it is only the NPSH. That means suction head only we are talking about. Though it is only suction head, that is also you can take the same formula. Static section, vapor pressure section, and the friction section, velocity section. Right? So in the vapor pressure, because you have to calculate specifically, you can take HPS minus the pressure. This is the same thing we saw here also, right? HPS minus, here is the HPSD, which is they put it as the P generally, right? I would say minus P is the vapor pressure. It's the vapor pressure of the liquid. It's the vapor pressure of the liquid. Right? That's a HPS minus P.
What is this 2 pluses? There is something missing in between?
Which one?
Here in the formula.
No, I think it's not 2 plus, it's only 1 plus.
Additional one, okay. So this PS
Normally
is static discharge?
Yeah. What is it?
Can you explain again the letters in this formula? HSS is static suction static head. Yeah?
Section, static section, and vapor pressure section. Then the vapor pressure of that liquid, that's a minus P, right? Then friction section and velocity section.
So this PS is vapor pressure of the suction.
No, head related to the vapor pressure. This is a HPS, no? We're talking about. HPS means, here we talk about HPS means the head, because of that, it has happened because of the vapor pressure property, right? So that's a HPS. It's an absolute. When come to the minus P, which is a real vapor pressure of the particular liquid, which you store.
But still, it is still meter, yeah?
What is it?
I'm confused. I don't know why I'm confused, because you're putting it as a P. So it's a pressure in a pressure unit, HPS and P. What is the difference between HPS and P? Only P in this.
P is a vapor pressure of the liquid. This HPS.
But how come it should be everything is in meter. That's why I'm confused. It should be everything in head. Why we're putting a pressure in the middle of this formula?
How about here?
Everything is head. H. But there it's
Here
H
also-
minus P.
Here also we have to calculate, right? To convert head to pressure to head, right?
Yes, but at the end we are
Because-
unifying the units by head, which is meter.
Then this is the formula, right? How do you get the formula? Head SGH divided by 2.31.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to
So
say,
from here the H you can calculate, right?
yes. Okay.
If I
can
know
you
the
go
vapor
back to the
pressure,
question?
if I know the vapor pressure, I can calculate the H.
That I know. Can we go back to the formula? So this is HP, not P. P alone, because it is written down here. P is vapor pressure of the fluid.
See, I take it as a one formula where the P you have to, because I cannot write here the HE, you have to use SGH divided by 2.3, then people will confuse. The P is here is a pressure, but that one you can convert to equivalent head. Then only you can get a NPSH. One value we cannot be in a pressure unit, and then other value in a feet. Nobody, you can't get the net section head. We will see some sample example questions in the later. You will understand.
Okay.
Okay, first question.